As a person, she was very straightforward, innocent, honest girl. Very good looking, of course. My daughter. She was full of life, always finding something to do, and just about to start her new life when this tragic things happened to her.
Annie Hendocha was just 28, a new bride on her honeymoon when she was murdered. Few words can really express how devastated her family is.
I had a family once upon a time, 6 months ago, which was different than what I have today. Why?
Hi, good people. Thank you so much for clicking to watch my video. Today's case is gonna take us all over the world. It initially starts in Uganda, then goes to Sweden, and then it goes to England, UK, and then it goes to India, and then it goes to South Africa, and then it goes back to London and England, and then it goes back to South Africa, back and forth, you know. So today we're going to be talking about the story of Annie Dewanie, who unfortunately lost her life at a very young age of 28. Annie Dewanie lost her life on a honeymoon. So I like to make my stories more about I want to talk more about the victims than the perpetrators, if you get me. So Annie Dewanie was born on 12 March 1982 in Sweden, in a place called Mariestad. Her parents initially were Indian immigrants. They were in India. Sorry. They were in Uganda, and then I think in the 1980s, the Ugandan president gave a notice to all Asian descendants in Uganda to leave the country within 90 days. So Annie's parents left the country within those 90 days, and they went to seek asylum in Sweden, in which way Annie is Annie and her siblings, Annie and Amy and Anish, later be born in a place called Mariestad. She is described to being the glue of the family, she was like a happy child, you know, and she loved family, you know, she loved she associated with everyone in the family, and their family looks like it was like a really close-knit family, you know. And if you see the way her siblings talk about her, it's so painful that she lost her life. Like she had so much ahead of her, you know. And yeah, she was raised there in Mariestad, and then she went to do a degree in engineering, and then she was working in Ericsson, which is like a phone company. Do you guys remember Ericsson phones? Yeah, she was working there in marketing, yeah, in her late 20s. And then she would visit, you know, London back and forth, and she got into the age where she wanted to settle down, you know, meet somebody, have a family, you know. So she had a cousin in London where she would go and visit, you know, and stuff like that. So when she was on one of her visitations in London, she met up with another Indian of Ugandan descent as well, a guy called Shirin. So Shirin Dewanie, also his parents, the mom was originally also like the same story as Annie's parents. They'd immigrated from Uganda instead of Sweden, they'd immigrated to England. Yeah, and the father came from Kenya. But all of these people, they were like Indians. They were originally Indians. They had Indian descent in them. And you know, like mostly, I think they do like you know, when Indians are getting married, they always like do sort of like arranged. It was not, I can't say it was arranged, but the auntie hooked them up. Like the auntie of Anne knew Shirin, and she thought that, oh, they could be a good couple, you know. And Shirin Dewanie, at that age, he was already a millionaire. Like in his early 30s, he was very successful. He was a chartered accountant with the company. I'm gonna put it here, Delore. I don't know if you pronounce the last T, you know. He was a chartered company, and he also was working for his family business. His family were running, they're still running they're still running now in Bristol. They were running care homes I think, retirement homes, you know, and that business is very lucrative in Europe, you know. So they were running that kind of agency, and they were very wealthy people, you know. So it have stayed like Annie's family, even though they were like a bit what you call, the bit like gaps about the wealth of the Diwanis, but they got along fine, you know. And Anne and Anne and Sharon would see each other long distance. She'll go back to Sweden and then she'll come back, you know. And then she later on decided to move into London. So within moving in London, Sharon proposed to her and asked for her hand in marriage. Like, you know, he asked the parents, can I marry your daughter? Which the parents were happy. He looked like a very handsome, very good guy with good intentions for their daughter. So they were so happy that their youngest daughter was getting married, you know. So in the relationship itself, friends say that they argued a lot. Sharon was very controlling. He wanted Anne to look a certain way, you know. He wanted Anne to have like a certain look to he was very, very controlling, you know. So Anne, I think she should have brushed it off, like, you know, that, oh, you know, in relationship is not always like happy all the time. There are like ups and downs, you know. But they've been rumored to have like argued a whole lot, you know. So they had their engagement in Paris, you know. Sharon took her to Paris and she gave her a 40,000 engagement ring, you know. And then when they came back, now they was planning their wedding, and they had their 3-day wedding in India, which people are saying it was very lavish, it was extravagant, you know. And Annie is seen, like, you know, like there are videos of her dancing. She looks so beautiful, she's glowing, she's so beautiful, you know. And even Sharon, he was handsome, or he still is handsome, because it's not late. It's still, you know, he looks so handsome. They look so happy, you know. But family around them were saying that no, the wedding was so weird because she seemed like she was not herself, you know. She seemed like she was not like the usual Anne that they know. But then they just brushed it off. It's wedding jitters, you know, like there's a lot happening like in those 3 days. So maybe that's why she was feeling that way. So yeah, after the wedding, Sharon surprises Anne with a honeymoon to South Africa. He is said to say he chose South Africa because SA was like the initial, like their initials of their name is an S for Sharon and A for Anne, where he had booked a 4-day safari for them and them to just go there and enjoy their honeymoon, you know. So they go on to their honeymoon, and there are texts between Anne and her cousin where she's complaining. She's like, oh, I regret like this marriage. I can't stand to be with him, you know. He's always doing this, complaining about this. Like, she was complaining a lot. She sounded like she was not a happy bride, you know. So right, they meet a South African driver, taxi driver, who is like marketing his services, you know. He is said to have come to them and approached them marketing his services, that this is my name. So this South African driver is called Zola Tongo, and he's gonna play a major role in this case, you know. He's gonna be a major role in this case, right? So they meet this guy Zola Tongo, and knowing what you call Sharon, he's a millionaire. Like, knowing millionaires, you'd think that they would hire like the tech service that goes with the hotel, you know, like the chauffeur, you know what they call them. You would expect that, but no, he wanted to make a discount, you know. So he goes ahead and talks with this guy Zolani, and they agree that he's gonna be their tour guide, sort of their chauffeur, you know, for the rest of their trip, you know, in Cape Town. Yeah, so they'd agreed, you know. And then Zola takes the pair to the hotel where they go and they refresh themselves, you know. It's seen in the camera where Zola, I don't know why I say Zolani, because I feel like his name is Zolani, you know. So where Zola is is seen talking to Shren, and Anne is already in the hotel, and yeah, so they arrange Zola and Tola next day to meet, and then since it's the tourists, they're on their honeymoon, he wants to see South Africa, so yeah, the next day there's a video of Anne and Sharon. They plan to go for dinner, and we see Anne and Sharon taking pictures in the hotel, waiting for Zola to come and pick them up, right? And I'm gonna say this story in versions of Zola. As I was doing my research, I've got Zola's story, and unfortunately we don't have Annie's story, and then we have Sharon's story, like what happened on that night. So Zola says, Sharon said to him that he wanted to see the real South Africa, meaning he wanted to see the ghetto parts of South Africa, not like the flash South Africa like that they show on the TV. He wanted to see where poverty is, and which better place than Guguletu, If you know Guguletu, it's a high-density suburb in South Africa where there are a lot of these shanty scatters, where there's a lot of overpopulation, there's a lot of poverty, So one would think, why would a millionaire, if you want to see South Africa, why would you want to go and see that? I don't get it, but let's just say Sharon wanted to South Africa, that part of South Africa. So they plan a date with Zolani, and then they plan that they're gonna go for dinner, which doesn't make sense. Like, Guguletu is one of the most dangerous places in Cape Town. If you wanted to see the area, you would see the area during morning, afternoon, before dark, but they plan to go and see this place during nighttime, and so Zola takes them to the Guguletu around dinner time. Zolani says that's when the two robbers came and attacked them, right? So the two robbers came and attacked them, and they were telling them, give us this, give us all your belongings, give us all of this, and Anne and Sharon were in the back of the car, right? And Zolani was in the front as like the taxi driver, and then Sharon, the robbers took they let Sharon go. I don't know how did they let Sharon go, They said that they stayed with Anne because she was screaming and a lot, she was causing a scene, so they didn't want her to come out and cause people to come to them, And then Sharon just left. They ran. Sharon and Zolani, they left the place, they ran, and then they left Anne there with the with the car. That is the version of the story from Zola's side, That's what happened, So fast forward later, we're going to Zolani's story. Sorry, to Sharon's story, right? Sharon's story is saying also, yeah, they were in the back of the car, and then the kidnappers came, or the hijackers came, and they attacked them, and then they stayed with Anne because Anne was screaming a lot, and then they let Sharon go, and they let Zolani go, and that was the story. So when Sharon went, he started knocking in houses there until finally somebody opened the door for him, and then he told the people, please call the police, my wife has been kidnapped, and then the police is called, and then the police come to Zolani, and then they all go to the hotel, and then the hotel gives them a conference room where they start doing the investigation, right? I Zolani is going to the hotel. He's not even going back to look where the wife is, He's going back to the hotel, right? And then as Zolani is going, I think he informs his parents in England, that my bride is missing, this is what happened, or and then he calls Annie's dad, right? So he's saying that Sharon said to him that, oh Papa, I'm sorry, I couldn't protect your daughter, you gave her daughter to me, I couldn't protect her, and then the father said to him, I was like, no, it's okay, I'm coming there. We're gonna look for her. We're gonna find her, you know. And then Shirin kept on saying like she's gone, like. And then the father couldn't get it. Why? He's kidnapped, you know. It's not the end of the world. We're gonna go there. We're gonna get money together, and then we're gonna get Anne back, you know. The father kept on telling Shirin, and Shirin was telling the dad that no, Papa, you know, she's gone. Then, you know, imagine, like, he said that he was sleeping on that day, like in the night, like in around 1, 2, he got a phone call that his daughter was missing. He's been kidnapped, and right there he booked the ticket to South Africa. You know, you can imagine him, like, you know, how he was feeling, the state of him, like, you know, like when you're going from Europe, Sweden to, you don't get like that one flight. There's always like a connecting flight. It's like 24 hours. It's 18 to 24 hours. Imagine you're on that flight and you don't know. And it is very unusual for a car that has been hijacked, for the hijackers to leave the car, leave the most what you call the possessions. Like there was still an engagement ring in the car. Like, so what were they robbing in the first place? That's why this hijacking is a little bit like out of order, you know. So yeah, and unfortunately Anne had been shot twice in the neck and in the chest, and he suffered she it looked like she gave up. She gave a fight, you know. Enter now the two hijackers, right? The guys that initially shot or they hijacked the car, the guys that initially kidnapped and these guys would be Mziwa Madoda Qwabe and Xolile Mngeme. These are the initially hijackers, right? So these guys they are discovered because on the vehicle they found fingerprints. So these two guys, they had petty crimes. They didn't have really violent crimes, you know, with the police, but they were in the system, you know, because if you get arrested, of course they're gonna get your fingerprints. So this is how they trace back the two guys, the two hijackers, to the murder of Annie Diwali, right? They get arrested, and then when they get arrested, they're in prison. Meanwhile, Shirin, oh my God, I hope I pronounce his name right. Shirin is arranging for the body of Annie to fly back to England. He did it so fast, like within 2 days he was out of South Africa, you know. He didn't even wait for the investigation. He even didn't wait. Him and his father, the father of of Anne, went to London with the body, you know, for burial, because now because he had been married to Shirin, so now he was the husband, and then he had the power to choose where Anne was supposed to be buried. The father initially wanted her daughter to be near where they are in Sweden, but because Shirin was the husband, he said, no, we're gonna get buried in England. This story was so, I remember that time I was in Zimbabwe. That's like 2010, you know, and it's just after the 2010 World Cup, you know the football World Cup that happened in South Africa, in Africa, you know. So this case was like all over the news. It got so much coverage. It was being reported all over, you know. And the South African government, like the South African police, they were under pressure, you know, to solve that case, you know, so that tourism would come back, because that case was like making people scared to come to South Africa, you know, and they wanted their tourism to go up. So there was so much pressure for them to crack the case, right? So, and then the two offenders, right, the two hijackers, they said to their attorneys, like their lawyers, that we've been beaten, we're being forced to say stuff, because they wanted to you know, to close the case, you know. And then
Shri Dewanie's road to the dock started with shuttle driver Zola Tongo. He was the first fall guy, entering into a plea and sentence agreement with the state. He has detailed how Dewanie offered him money to arrange to have someone killed. Tongo says he later realized Dewanie was referring to his wife of 2 weeks, Annie. CCTV footage from the Cape Grace Hotel shows a person resembling Dewanie handing over money to Tongo. The confession and footage are expected to play a big part in the evidence leveled against Dewanie. Mziwa Madoda Kwabe was next to take the plea deal option, just days before he was scheduled to stand trial. In return for a lesser sentence of 25 years, he has to testify for the state against Dewanie. In his plea agreement, Kwabe claims the deal was that Shri and Dewanie would be left unharmed in the set-up kidnapping of the honeymoon couple. Kwabe admitted to assaulting Annie with a firearm to force her into submission and robbing her of 90,000 rand worth of valuables. Holile Mgeni is the only one of the 3 South African accused to go on trial. He is currently serving a life sentence as the gunman who fired the shot that killed Annie. Due to his ailing health, it's unlikely he will be called to testify.
Redeem South Africa is a safe country, you know, that no, this doesn't happen. South Africa is safe. It's safe to travel to South Africa, you know. Meanwhile, there's also a frenzy in what you call in London, in Bristol. Shireen is saying I'm innocent, you know, is that like the family is like supporting, like his family was supporting him, but Anne's family, they were a bit like, you know, is the way that he acted, like on the day of the funeral, the day before the funeral, he threw a pizza party, you know, which is very disrespectful to Anne's memory and Anne's family, you know. He didn't look like the grieving husband, you know, that he was supposed to look, you know, and he hired a public relations guy, which shows, like, you know, when people hire like an image fixer, it shows that you're trying to hide something, you're trying to portray your image, you know. Why do you have to, if you're innocent, you don't have to be hiring a publicist, you know, to talk for you, to do that, you know. And then the publicist said that he's suffering depression, he can't eat, he can't do anything because of the whole thing, the whole case, you know. Like, he was supposed to go back to South Africa because the trial started in December, you know, and those other 3 guys where the trial was, and then he couldn't go. Like, he's mentioned that he's in depression. His lawyers fought for him not to go back to South Africa because they say that he can't handle it. He's so depressed, you know. His life has just been a standstill ever since the matter of, he's also grieving, you know, and the family is hating him. So there seem to be no good relationships between the parents of Annie and the parents or the family, or even with Shireen, you know. They seem to have like gone this because they wanted answers, and then Shireen was not giving them answers. Up until today, Shireen is not giving them answers, you know. I saw a documentary whereby they were having like Anne's memory in Sweden. I think it was in 2020. Yeah, it was in 2020 because she got buried and then her ashes, I don't know, her ashes were, she didn't get buried, her ashes were spread on the sea. Is it a sea or lake in Mariestad near her hometown, you know? And they had a memory of her there because she had loved memories there, going there, growing up in Sweden, you know. And the husband was not there, you know. He was not there. He was not anywhere to be seen, like, you know, like they just did a memory and they didn't this case is like, up until today, Shireen is still free, you know, because he did come back like in 2014. They finally extradited him back to South Africa to face his case, you know. But he was not even tried. He didn't even stand like on the stand, like for them to talk and tell them the story, what happened. They didn't even try him, you know. They only concentrated on those 2 guys, and they said those 2 guys are lying. Zola, the driver, his case was like, it was not intact, like it was leaking he lied, so he was like an unworthy witness. And the other 2 guys, all of them, they were lying, you know. So the judge said, we can't put a verdict based on these 3 witnesses because they are untrustworthy, you know, because the stuff they say today is different, so we don't know who is telling the truth, you know. So he was acquitted, and he came out like he didn't matter, and you know, and he's in the streets. Like, I saw another clip, like, you know, I saw, it's not a video, I read an article where while his family was in the memory, the way they have the memory service, the photographers, sorry, the press went to Shiren's place, you know, to see what was he doing for Anne's memory. And he was just walking his dog, you know, he was coming out of his London posh apartment, walking his dog, going to the gym, you know, and he has moved on, like, you know. And also there's also like what you call, people are like, why would he kill the bride, you know, why would you kill the bride? There are rumors, or which are not rumors, there are rumors that because he was gay, you know, and he didn't want, because of their Hindu religion and all of that, so he didn't want his family to know his sexuality, you know, so that's the motive. That's why he killed the bride. That's why he killed Annie, you know, because divorce was like a no. So his way out was to like what you call, to murder. That's what the prosecution or the prosecution came and they said he did that. That's the motive, because he is gay, you know. The prosecution even had like a what you call, not a German, they have like a stripper, a London stripper that Shiren was the client, you know, and the guy was called the German master. Yeah, so they had him, you know, and they even prepared to fly him from what you call, from London to South Africa to come and testify, you know, because he said that, yeah, he's my client, he's like, he's gay, you know. He always like he's in a website, you know, where he's like for gay people. He's very active, you know. Even when he was in South Africa in the honeymoon, it shows like on the website that he was still on those watching gay porn, you know, even though he was supposedly supposed to be with his wife, supposed to be enjoying his wedding, you know, his marriage, his honeymoon, but he was still like, even on the death, like he still went back to the porn website. It shows like there's evidence that he was still like on that website, you know. So now what you call, the guy that wanted to testify committed suicide. They called him the German master. He's a Briton, but then he calls himself the German master, you know. So he committed suicide and he wasn't tried. He didn't come to testify against Shiren, you know. And this story is so close to my heart because we honestly, I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, I just feel like Annie's murderers, they're like, they didn't get this case didn't get, like, because there was so much pressure for the case to be closed. So I feel like they left a lot of loopholes. They could have got more truth. Like, they could have tried Shiren, you know, they could have tried him on the court stand. Like, he didn't face that, like, you know. So I just feel like it wasn't treated fairly because, you know, it's just how the world works. The rich always win, you know. Yeah, the rich always win. So yeah, this is the story of Annie Diwali, and I'm so sorry, like, for the family, you know, like that they still want answers, you know, and he's not talking to them, you know. He recently, there hasn't been any mention of him having any, what you call, or even with the press, he's not talking to the press about anything about his wife, his ex, what you call, his late wife, you know. And the family, like the father, I saw a documentary where like the father was like, honestly, like the loss of Anne, our family has not been the same, like, you know, like the uncle, the brother, like the siblings, everyone, they're still consumed because they want answers, you know, like they want to know how did what really happened, you know. Because and the most what you call, the most sad part is that Shiren is still free, you know. And as we speak today, like this is 2020, this is like the beginning of July, Zola Tongo has been released from prison. He had initially got 15 years, I think 15 to 18, and then he said 12 years of his sentence, and he's out now, you know. And there was a clip that I watched where the family flew back, like, to South Africa to try and fight him being paroled, you know. They tried to fight it, but they didn't win, you know. And it's really sad. I just feel like, especially for the dad and the mom, I just feel like this has consumed their life so much, and they've they just need closure, you know, like if Shirin would just come out, like, you know, and say something, like, you know, and just give the family closure of what really happened, you know. Yeah, so this is my version of the story of Ntando. Thank you so much for watching my video. Check me more for more videos. Bye.